we'll just jump into the questions. So the first question is, how long have you been coaching? 27 years.
About 4 years. I mean, I worked with my dad for a year and a half, and I was out of education, so I didn't start coaching again until the 96 school year. So, but I've been coaching something ever since.
Awesome. When did that interest in coaching begin?
It started my sophomore year of college, so that would have been 1986. So, you know, that's the best I can figure.
All right.
Yeah.
What made you make that decision to definitively start to pursue coaching?
There's a couple things that kind of came together on that, but I was the summer of 1986. My dad and I, we always played in the state father-son golf tournament, and it was a big deal. It was like we'd always have this big dinner, and that summer they had I want to say it was at Pleasant Valley Country Club, but I'm not sure. But they had this big dinner, and they had a guest speaker, and the guest speaker was a guy named Mike Newell, who was at that time the head basketball coach at UALR. And UALR had just pulled off one of the biggest upsets in NCAA tournament history. They were, I think, a 14 seed and knocked off Notre Dame. It was a 3 seed. And then they took North Carolina State to overtime in the second round. So he was a big name at the time. And so it was kind of a big deal. So he was talking, and I just thought he talked about the impact that he was able to have, the relationships and coaching. And I just was kind of, that kind of, his speech that night kind of planted the seed, I guess. But it's not like I left that night thinking, I'm going to be a coach.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I thought, man, that's pretty cool, And then that fall semester of '86, which was my sophomore year, I started off as a business major, and it was about that time during that semester, I just kind of, it became more and more clear that this was not for me. Something's got to change because I just was not interested in the classes I was taking. I just had no motivation in them, and it was just one of those things where something had to change. So that's combination of thinking about what Mike Newell had said, but also thinking about my coach at Fayetteville, John McDonald, who's obviously a legendary coach. And just thinking about, man, he's got a pretty cool job.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made me decide that I need to make a change, and so I switched majors at the end of my sophomore year, and decided I want to be a coach and started taking education classes.
So you had jobs before your current job. So what were some of the stepping stone jobs that got you to where you are in your current position? Or internships?
Well, my student taught at Bentonville at Walton Junior High, which is now, I think, Washington Junior High or something. But and so I got to help coach track while I was student teaching. And then my graduate assistantship at Henderson State under Coach Woody Jolly, who I'd known from when in high school. He was the head coach at Parkview, and he had a really good runner that I used to run against. So he hired me as his graduate assistant, and that was a great experience because I stepped into a good situation. He kind of gave me a lot of control, really. He let me design workouts and stuff, and we had a really good team that won the Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference Championship, which used to be where every UCA, Henderson, SAU, all the smaller colleges in the state were in that conference. And so Harding had been the defending champion for the previous, I think, 20 years. And so we broke that stream, which was pretty cool. And so that was a great experience. And at that time, it was my goal to become a college coach. And so I did that for 2 years, but then about the time I finished up, the NCAA made some changes and reduced the number of coaches that certain sports could have. And so there were a lot of coaches basically looking for work who were experienced college coaches, so it really kind of stacked the deck against me as far as that was concerned. So, that's why I ended up working with my dad at a golf store for 2 years, helping with that. But then getting back in education, I was at Jacksonville High School for a short time. I coached cross country, voluntarily that fall. Then I switched over to Oak Grove High School because it was a full-time position. But I ended up coaching junior high girls basketball and track for 7 years. And so I did, doing that was tough. And, because that's not kind of what I had in mind. I wanted to be a distance coach, a track coach. And so it was a great experience. I learned a lot from it. And it wasn't until, I guess, I'd been there several years. I think it was 99 when I had some pretty good little distance runners on my girls team that I decided, because cross country was not a budgeted sport in the Pulaski County School District. And so I decided, well, what if we just, we use the track uniforms. I was thinking we just have the kids chip in to pay the entry fees, and we take our own vehicles to the meets, so there's no real budget needed. That's kind of the way I approached it, and I went to the principal with that idea, and he said, okay. So we kind of started a cross-country program at Oak Grove in 99, and so that was, then also at the same time I was starting to coach, I think it was 2000, 2001, I started as the senior high girls basketball coach and track coach, which was, I didn't really want to keep coaching basketball, but I kind of got my arm twisted, and it was, tough job. So but that's what I did until I went to Bryant.
Awesome. How did the job opportunity at Bryant come about?
Coach Westbrook, Danny Westbrook contacted me. He had actually contacted me, I think in 99 or 2000, somewhere back there, because the guy who had been coaching the boys was thinking about possibly taking a different job, and Coach Westbrook was just seeing if I'd be interested. And, I said, yeah, I'd be willing to look at it, but it turned out that coach stayed at Bryant, so it come to pass. But then in 2003, he contacted me again, because this time that coach definitely was getting out of coaching. So, but at the time when he contacted me the first time, it was going to be cross country. Boys, it was actually assistant cross country. Coach Westbrook was the head cross country. The position was assistant cross country, but he said it's just I would be the boys coach, he'd be the girls coach. And but it was tied with soccer, boys soccer. And not track. And so it was also tied, more importantly, it was tied with teaching science, which I was not certified in. So even though I went and interviewed for the job, most of the interview focused on the teaching part of it. And I said, I'll do whatever I got to do. I'll take the test, get certified in science. But the fact that I wasn't certified definitely, was not a good thing at that point. And it was and that was during the spring. Well, then, in the summer, Coach Westbrook called again and said he had, that Coach Griffith, who had been the head boys track coach, had decided to get out of coaching track so he could, because his son was coming up through high school, he wanted to be in all-season football, and also his son played baseball. I think he wanted to be able to watch his son play baseball. So Coach Westbrook fought really hard to tie the cross-country job with the track position. He said, you'd think that'd be common sense, but at first that's not what they were wanting to do, because there were several other coaches leaving. But so once that happened, and it also that happened that a health teacher had left. It was a basketball coach had left. So he talked him into tying all that together, the health with the cross country and the track. And so once they did, and I interviewed for that, it went great. So that's when I got hired. So it was basically Coach Westbrook, I think, because he really fought for me. And I'd known Coach Westbrook because I coached a couple of his kids when I was at Henderson.
Really?
His runners that ran at Bryant. So that's where I first got to know him.
Awesome. What were some of the characteristics of Bryant High School that made it like appealing or made you want to go pursue that?
That's pretty easy. That's because they were, the tradition, because they were an established program that, they took cross country seriously. It was a real sport, and that's thanks to what Coach Westbrook was able to accomplish. Over in the '90s, winning multiple state championships, and so it was something that, whereas where it was before, it was not even a budgeted sport, and it was something that we had some kids that just liked to run, and we just kind of carpooled and did, but it's one of those things where we had to fight for any recognition we got, and it was something that was not the best situation as far as trying to build a successful program. So Bryant, being in the biggest classification in the state, having that tradition, it was just kind of I said at the interview that it was a dream job, and so that's but to me it was an ideal situation, especially since I preferred to stay in Central Arkansas, so that to me it couldn't get any better.
Oh yeah. What were some of the main responsibilities that come with coaching a successful distance program?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
There's several ways to look at that question, but the main thing is that to be, as distance running it's not a seasonal thing; it's a year-round thing. It's to be a successful distance runner. It's a lifestyle. It's not I'll start training once cross country season starts in August. It's something that, and so just that whereas before at the previous school I'm coaching basketball, and then hoping kids are running. Well, now it's like something that you're trying to get kids to buy into, that it's a year-round thing. That's part of it, but also some of the other things about having a successful distance program is I'm constantly thinking about as far as this what's going to meet the needs of all the kids in the program. As far as their training and as far as their safety. So it's that's what to me is the main thing, is just trying to figure out how, because when I got to Bryant, we had, we could fit we had 8th through 11th grade, 8th through 12th grade cross country, and we could go in one bus my first year.
Yeah.
And so, it was a lot easier then. And so now, with so many kids in the program, it takes a lot more preparation, as far as just doing a simple maintenance run sometimes, as far as, especially if we go out on the roads. And so trying to figure out what's the best route, what's going to minimize the risk to the kids, how can I best supervise the kids and ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and staying safe. And so that's, what I spend a lot of time worrying about.
That's a good problem to have, because a lot of kids coming in that you meet in college or wherever I'm at, they come in and it's like their team is like 8th through 12th grade, like 20 kids or something like that, and then they're barely having anybody to run with, and it's like not a big deal at their school.
I know that some schools approach it differently than we do. I think Bentonville, basically they don't have a B team, so they don't let everybody run cross country. As we in most programs are pretty inclusive. Basically at tryouts, where just if you can complete the tryout and we have enough uniforms, then we're going to give you that shot. And some programs, it's like, you got to be pretty, basically if you can't hang with, to be able to train at a certain level, then they're not going to let you run. And I think there's advantages to that competitively, but at the same time, I would hate to make that switch to doing that, because I feel like I like the fact that so many kids get that experience of competing in cross country, which I love, because it's nobody sits the bench, everybody gets to get out there, and it's fun to see those kids improve over the years, even if they never get a chance to run in state or something.
Definitely. Okay, so is there anything that surprised you about coaching that you not anticipated going into it?
Yeah, several.
Huh.
Number one, driving a bus.
Oh yeah.
If you had told me in college that someday I'm going to be driving a bus, I just would have been, no, dude, I'm out.
Yeah.
When I showed up at the interview at Bryant, I guess I can't remember if it was the first or second one, but I was supposed to meet them in Coach Farmer's office, which it turns out they told me the wrong place. And so I was sitting there waiting, and it turns out they're waiting on me in a different place. So, but his secretary, Coach Farmer's secretary, asked me if I had my CDL. And I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
I had no clue. And she said, oh, all the coaches drive buses. And I'm like, oh. And so that, when I got hired that first summer, having to go and get the big, huge, thick manual and learn about bus, the mechanics of a bus, all that stuff, man, that was pretty stressful. I hadn't studied like that in years. And so somehow I passed the test, and so started driving buses, but I don't drive bus routes, just, to the meets.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's just second nature. It's no big deal. But back then I was kind of freaked out about that.
Yeah.
Some other things, just the amount of time that you spend, just on the little things. I mean, waiting for kids to get picked up.
Yeah.
You finish the practice at, say you're done at 4:15, and this past year was like there was times I'm waiting until 5:45, 6 o'clock for a kid to get picked up because their parent works in Little Rock, and ultimately if the kid is there after school because of my program, then I'm responsible for them. Mm-hmm. So I can't just leave. If I leave and something happens to that kid, they get in a fight, whatever, well then it's going to come back on me. So just those little things, you don't think about how much time. I mean, that coaching is going to take a lot of time, but it's, it's not always just the coaching part of it. It's just how much time it takes just on just supervision and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, just the amount of work that's involved in like setting up for a cross country meet, organization, which that was where I was very lucky because when I was at Oak Grove and even when I was at Henderson, we never hosted meets. And so we just would load up and go to the meets, and you just didn't think about it. And so that was one of the great things about getting to work with Coach Westbrook. He kind of had a system in place, and so getting to set up meets and just everything, thinking about all the, whether it's getting porta potties, getting a timer, all that kind of stuff. Well, then it kind of becomes second nature after you've done it a few years. But if I'd have been flying blind into it, it would have been a ball game. So. That's the main stuff that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine there's probably too many to name, or you could think of them all day, but those are some good ones.
So talking to other coaches, I know other coaches have more issues with like parents and stuff than I've had. It's one of the great things, back when I coached basketball, dealing with parents sometimes about playing time and all that kind of stuff, that you're not being fair. And whereas in cross country and track, it's the old saying is the stopwatch doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot easier to make those. It's still sometimes some tough decisions, especially when you're trying to figure out which 9 guys are going to go to state or something like that. Sometimes it's not always cut and dried. So, but for the most part, it's it's that part of it's been pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. What is the most proud moment of your coaching career? What is the thing you're most proud of in your coaching career?
Well, I'd be lying if I said that the state championship that we won, that the team you were on in 2015, if that wasn't up there toward the top of the list. Mm-hmm. Because as a coach, that's kind of the ultimate. I kind of look at it like I'm a big golf fan, and so I know that in professional golf, it's one thing to go in the, just the Memphis Open or whatever. That's huge, but all the golfers will say they want to win a major, and so. And for us, winning a state championship is like winning a major. It's and so it was a big deal back. Certain things stand out. But at Bryant, in 2010, I think it's the first time we actually won a meet in track. Now we won some meets in cross country over the years, but to win a track that was a pretty big breakthrough. And so then by 2013, we're starting to win more often, and then to work up to the point that we were able to win a state championship, that was just kind of an unbelievable thing.
Yeah.
You know, but also some other things. I mean, that AIC championship at Henderson was a big deal. But at the same time, you know, just little moments that just kind of stand out. You know, I can think of, you know, and I think about all the athletes and just having an athlete have a breakthrough race, whether or not it's important to a team championship or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can think about you at Russellville running that 9:39.
Oh yeah.
That was like, wow. You know, that was so fun.
Yeah.
And you know, just this past season, we you know, we only got to have one outdoor meet before the year got shut down. And for the last, you know, since Coach Westbrook retired in track season, I've been also coaching the girls distance runners. And so to have one of our girls, you know, break 6 minutes for the first time, just stuff like that. You just, you know, it's one of those things where they're getting close, they've come up short. And so at the Benton meet, she finally breaks through and does it. It was just, you know, you just get so fired up about it. And that hadn't changed in all the years I've been coaching, you know. And so whether it's a kid breaking 6 in a mile or breaking 20 in a 5K, just little moments like that, you know, just always kind of keep you going.
Definitely. What are some of the hardest things you have to do on the job?
You know, along with just the amount of time, to me, what causes me more stress probably than anything other than the competitive stuff. I mean, because it's obviously, you know, if you have a competitive team, then there's a certain amount of pressure to meet the expectations that you put on yourself, and so you tend to get stressed out about stuff. But probably the thing I get most stressed about is tryouts, specifically track tryouts. You know, less so with cross country, just because it's more inclusive. But as we've gotten, you know, more and more kids, I agonize over tryouts. You know, that's something I'm not good at. Is, you know, some coaches they don't bat an eye. They don't worry about it. It's like, you know, they'll cut a kid in a heartbeat, and it's just. But I beat myself up over it, and so if I've got 70 kids trying out for track, and I know that I can only keep 45 of them or something. And I feel like that it's very difficult to really get to really get an idea of what they're capable of in a couple of days, you know. And so during that time period, I mean, it's super stressful. I dread it. And then once the tryouts happen, I agonize over it. And of course, I'll talk with my assistant coaches and stuff, and we start trying to get a list put together. But I just, you know, you know, especially those kids that could kind of go either way, you've got to draw the line somewhere. And I always sit there and think, man, you know, I hope this is not a turning point for that kid where I could have made a positive difference and I couldn't keep them. You know, it bugs me. And the funny thing is, it's like it's probably gotten worse over the years, you know. And so to me, that's something I probably stress about the most. But also, let's see. You know, like I said before, just dealing with disciplinary issues. That's also something that's, you know, when you have kids who, you know, do things, you know, whether it's under your supervision or maybe in the classroom, or maybe they get in trouble with the law, you know, and trying to deal with that, dealing with the parents as far as, you know, assigning punishment. Sometimes you have administrators involved as well. And so that's just one of those things that's, you know, you can't help but it's, you know, can be a little stressful. But I mean, so sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But you want to make sure that any decisions you make are in line with what the school district's policy is, and that you're consistent about it. You know, and so, which is easy to say, but it's not always easily done.
Definitely. How do you deal with bad performances when talking to your individuals or the team as a whole?
Oh no, you could probably answer that, but not good. I try to be honest, and I try always to do my best to be straightforward without being negative necessarily. You know, I try to, you know, there's an old philosophy among a lot of coaches that, you know, whenever an athlete is successful, you the credit goes to the athlete. When they're not successful, the blame goes to the coach. And I try to, when the first thing, if the kid's not successful, I'm going to try to figure out, okay, what could I have done differently? Is there anything that I should have done? And and sometimes it's just, as sometimes bad races happen. And so, I try to keep the focus on the future, and then, if we can diagnose a particular problem that's going on that needs to be addressed, well, then, you talk about it. I always try to deal, with individuals, and I don't do a whole lot of, maybe not as much as I used to, as far as just talking to the whole team, because when you're talking to a whole team about a performance like in a track meet, well then the team is made up of all these individuals doing different things, and for a lot of them it's lost on them, so I try to keep it more individual. But I mean, what is your perception of how I dealt with it?
I don't know. You keep it on the future, just keep moving on, learn from it, kind of thing. I don't think you're ever too overly dramatic about something that happens, or just kind of learn from it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try to be. I've seen coaches handle it different ways. I've seen coaches that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, in the middle of a meet, I'm yelling encouragement just because everybody's yelling. Mm-hmm. But I try not to yell negative things. I've seen coaches do that, and I just don't think it's necessarily a good, positive reflection on them or their program when you're, cussing at a kid while they're out there hurting a race. I mean, they may have good reason to do that. I mean, the kid might have been out drinking the night before or something, but I feel like that, yelling and screaming in the middle of a race about it's not necessarily the best way to approach it. So.
Yeah, that is true. I agree with that. What are some of the most fulfilling parts of your job? I know you said the individual small things, but are there anything else you can think of?
Yeah, that's I'd say just the relationships you make, with kids. And, it's funny, I was thinking about this question because, yesterday when you texted me and you said, I'll email you the questions. Well, then last night at some point, I was looking on my phone, I didn't get the email. Well, then I thought, well, heck, I wonder if it went to my spam folder. So I went to my spam folder, and there it was.
Really?
And so I thought, wow, I need to check that more often.
Yeah.
So this morning I thought, well, I better go back and look on just see if there's anything else I missed. And I went back through, well, there was an email that was from the 19th, which I'm glad I found it, but it was a guy that I coached my first 2 years of Bryant.
Really?
He was in the 9th and the 10th grade those 2 years, and he quit running cross country. So, so that would have been, the 03-04 season, 04-05 season. Those are the only 2 years I coached him. And he sends me this email out of the blue just thanking me for, the impact I had on him, and, and I just thought, wow, and he said, I don't know if you remember me, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, he was kind of an interesting character, and but it was just so cool to get that email from this kid that, it's been, 15 years, and
that's crazy.
Something like that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of the things that influence the structure of your workout plan or your prescription or whatever to the kids?
I mean, as far as the plan I have as far as distance running, I mean, it's kind of based upon the two main influences were, John McDonnell, but also Denny Westbrook, because when I came into Bryant, I kind of felt like, he's got something that's working here. Mm-hmm. And he did a lot of things similar to what, I would have done anyway. But I kind of thought that, for it to work well, for me working with him, that, I would, and for the most part, we did a lot of this, for the most of the same stuff. Every now and then, with Coach Westbrook, he would kind of have an idea of something he wanted to do with the girls, and I kind of had something different in mind for the boys. And so we would do different workouts, but lots of times it was the same, as you know. I mean, we'd be doing, on the Westbrook loop or whatever, and so, those were the main influences. But also, as far as just the week-to-week, day-to-day, some things that factor in is, the weather. I can make a workout plan for the week, but if I see that the weather is, let's say going to be 100 degrees, well, then that can definitely change it. The surfaces that we have to run on, I mean, because we wear the heck out of that Westbrook loop, and we've got that extension now around the levee, so we've got a lot of grass to run on, and I think that is so important to stay, on grass as much as possible. But at the same time, as you know, that thing gets flooded and muddy and sloppy, and so it's not always runnable. So if it's not runnable, then what's plan B? And so just things like that. And, also the ability level of the kids. I mean, that's another thing about having a bigger team is it does make it really, I want to make sure that all the kids are getting coached. But at the same time, I tell them that I'm going to be, I guess, more concerned and maybe a little bit more focused on the kids at the front, and it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
If you want that extra attention, then get faster.
Yeah.
Because the guys at the front are the ones that are determining our score. At the end of the day, we want to win. We want to be as competitive as we can. I mean, yes, it's great that everybody gets to get out there and run, and I want them to get better. But at the same time, we do want to win. We want to, to compete at a really high level, and that's not going to happen if I'm spending all my time worried about the guys at the back of the pack. So that's one of the drawbacks, I guess, of having a bigger program is that sometimes whether you want to or not, some of the kids may feel like they get neglected because you're so focused on, and I know like right now I've got some athletes who, some of the kids on the team may think that I spend all my time talking to them, and what they don't understand is those kids come up and talk to me and ask questions.
Yeah.
And so, that's, and anybody can do that, and so, that's one of the things that, the number of kids you have, their ability levels, where you're going to run, what do you need to, like if you want to run hills, like at Bryant, where are you going to take the kids to go run hills? Are we going to load up in a bus and go to Mills Park? Or are we going to go, so just the logistics of things definitely has an impact on the training, so.
Oh, yeah. So what would be one of the main pillars that you center your coaching philosophy around or live by?
Number one is I feel like it's important that I want to treat each kid the way that I would want my kids to be treated, in a program. I want to, that's really it, because, I want to be a positive influence, a positive impact, regardless of a kid's ability level, regardless of whether or not they really make an impact competitively on our program. I want them to get something positive out of the experience of running, in our program. So that is kind of what guides me, and I'm not I'm a Christian, but it's not something I don't go around spouting Bible verses and stuff like that. But I feel like that, that if I can use my beliefs to kind of guide my behavior and guide decisions I make as far as how I treat kids and how I respond to situations, then that's to me the most important thing.
Definitely.
So yeah.
All right. So how have you kept your self-interest over the 27 years you said you've coached?
Well, that's the great thing about teaching and coaching is that things are always going to change. The kids, you've always got that next group. There's always, when you get that one, you might have a few down years, but then you start hearing about some kids that are really good at the middle school, and so you have that anticipation of looking forward to seeing what are these kids going to be able to do when they come on up, and so it's just that constant change. If you were coaching the same athletes for 15 years, it would be a different ball game, but it's just that there's change built in, and at Bryant, I think about the fact that when I started, building 40, the field house didn't exist. That our locker rooms were under the visitor bleachers, and just what the school looked like back then and what it looks like now, and all the so all those changes just always kind of keep things keep it interesting to me at least. And sometimes there's changes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Going back to a previous question, something I didn't mention is that as far as something that has surprised you about coaching, one of the important things, regardless of what you coach, is the relationships you build with other coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be your assistant coaches or coaches in other sports, because sometimes you're going to have to share athletes. And even though in a perfect world, you would hope that your athletes are yours year round, but that's probably not going to be the case for some of them. And if you're a track coach, that's especially true, because lots of kids that do track may do football, for instance, and so that, depending upon where you are, that can be a good or bad thing. And I've seen both of it. I've seen situations where I've had great relationships with football coaches, and it's been smooth sailing, and other times where it's not so much. And that's one of those things that like in cross country, you're dealing with soccer kids, and so you may have kids that they're good athletes, they got some talent, they can help you, but at the same time, they're running a cross country meet on a Saturday morning, then they're going to play in a soccer tournament in the afternoon where they play 5 games. Yeah. And they show up Monday, limping. Yeah. And they weren't limping when they left that cross country meet. Mm-hmm. So how you balance those things, how you handle that, it's something that that's, I guess I didn't expect, and it's one of the other challenges. But anyway, going back to that question, yeah. It hadn't been too difficult to keep myself interested.
Yeah.
It's just always a new challenge.
Yeah, always new personalities.
Yep.
Okay, and the last question, if you had to do it over again, what would your advice be to your younger self to help you through the process?
I wish I could go back to high school and tell myself not to major in business.
Yeah.
Go ahead and jump right in and but I guess that's one I kind of struggled with, because I looking back on things, when you start thinking about how things played out, I don't think I would change too much, because I think about the fact that had I done things differently, I might not have ended up at Jacksonville High School for that short period of time. And I wouldn't have met my wife, because she was teaching at Jacksonville at the time.
Yeah.
So, if I would have started off in education and taken 4 years to graduate instead of the 5 it took me, and then maybe gone straight into a teaching coaching job, I would have been over 30 years in. I could retire any minute. But at the same time, I may not have the family I have now, and so I don't have a whole lot of regrets. I don't. I feel like I've screwed up sometimes, but at the same time, I've tried to learn from them. And I would say that it's the advice I tell anybody who's wanting to get into coaching is, don't, when you're getting hired as a coach, you're also getting hired as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And so what you're certified to teach, be prepared for that classroom. And I don't feel like that I was as prepared for the classroom as I could have been, and I honestly, I think that, that was one of those things that I don't feel like that they, at least in college, did a really good job of preparing you for some of the challenges that you end up having in the classroom. And so I would probably tell myself to really, dig deep as far as, learning about that part of it. Mm-hmm. So, and get certified in, multiple things. I was certified in PE when I got through with Fayetteville. I wasn't even certified in health. I had to take another couple of classes in the summer of '94 to get certified to teach health. Mm-hmm. And, so if I would have started off in education, I probably would have been already certified in more things than I was. But, but otherwise, things worked out. So I'm not, like I said, I don't have any regrets.
That's good.